In today's recap, we will be looking at the movie Loving Adults. A father and daughter sit outside as he narrates the details of a case he couldn't solve as a detective. He prefaces with a monologue on how dangerous love can be. Christian and his wife Leonora lie in bed when messages on his phone wakes them up. She questions him on who could be messaging him at such an odd hour, but he trivializes her worries, explaining it's work stuff. The phone buzzes again, so she turns on the lights and demands he gives her his phone to check the messages. Clearly hiding something, he lies that it's confidential information pertaining to his friend. She tries to snatch the phone from his hands, so this mofo sacrifices it by throwing it against the wall. We all know where he belongs. The following day, both complete their morning exercise as the detective gives some exposition on the couple. Christian was a trained craftsman but became wealthy when he started a construction company with his friend Peter. Leonora was a talented violinist and was accepted to a music conservatory, but she had to set aside her career when their son, Johann, became chronically ill, but now 18, he's starting to recover. Leonora comes in after her run and cheerfully greets Johann and Christian, who are taking breakfast. When their son leaves to prepare for school, Leonora apologizes to her husband about her behavior the previous night. He does the same. She offers to send his phone to the repair shop, but he pockets it, insisting to dispose it himself. Leonora drives her son to school, but he requests they stop to pick his crush, Martha. Meanwhile, Christian arrives at their latest construction site, where his friend Peter alerts him that the IRS wants to see the company's accounts. They seem to have done some under-the-table deals that could be a cause for concern, but his friend assures him that everything should be okay. After they tease each other, Christian makes his way to their architect Xenia, where they romantically lock eyes. They meet at a secluded part of the site, where it is apparent that Christian is having a workplace affair. The simp even calls her the prettiest woman he has ever seen, not sure if Leonora would be too happy if she heard that. She was the one who sent him the message at 4 a.m. He lets her know that it caused a problem between him and his wife. Xenia gets upset that he didn't read it. The message detailed an ultimatum. He either picks her or Leonora. She misread his lustful look earlier as him picking her. He explains that he will break things off with his wife, but since his son is still recovering, he can't put such stress on the family. She leaves a little aroused but upset. Meanwhile, at the local washing bay, Leonora reluctantly pays for a discount card to maximize her money. She goes back home and calls their network provider to get Christian's phone records, but she's unable to, however. While looking through his Facebook friends list, she comes across Xenia's profile. Upon closer inspection of her profile, she sees that several workplace pictures of Xenia and Christian have been posted. Leonora's female intuition tells her something is amiss. With this new information, she prepares for an event held by Christian's company. When her husband comes home, she tries to be affectionate towards him, but he's more focused on getting ready. At the event, Christian gives a speech that praises Xenia's architectural vision and even brings her up to soak the applause while his wife watches with disapproval. Later on, the party is in full swing, but an eagle-eyed Leonora follows Xenia as she makes her way to the secluded office area. She watches on in horror as Christian and Xenia are engaging in a transaction, but not the right kind of transaction that brings money, if you know what I mean. He's too into it to notice his wife standing there, but a more aware Xenia looks her straight in the eye without feeling shy. On the car ride home, a mortified Leonora quietly sits there. Her husband picks up on it, but she just tells him she's tired. The following morning, Christian builds the bonfire for the Midsummer Festival with his neighbor Kim. The topic of divorce comes up since he has experienced one himself. Kim advises him to just tell her if he wants a divorce, as it is better for both parties. Christian makes his way home, prepared to tell his wife the situation, but she beats him to the punch and confronts him about it, even revealing that Xenia looked her right in the eyes. He tries to explain, but really, can he? She brings up his shady dealing, manipulating the company's stock to make extra money to pay for Johann's treatment. Leonora has already been to the lawyer for consultation. She would be considered as an accomplice. But if she was to go to the police now and report him for fraud, she will not be implicated. With this silver bullet, she threatens to tell if he tries to leave. They had a deal to stick together as a team, and there is no going back. Later at work, Christian tries to nullify that bullet by asking Peter if there is a way to pay back the money they defrauded, but it's not possible. He meets up with Xenia and lies to her that he's ended things with his wife. Now that things are serious, she asks him to meet her mom. Christian later meets up with Kim to carry on their work on the bonfire. He informs him that Leonora will not let him go because she has dirt on him. So, he suggests that he find someone to support her through this hard time, since he can't be the shoulder for her to cry on. As their days go on, a depressed Leonora sits in her room thinking about what she saw at the party, but something snaps inside of her. So she decides to follow Christian, who makes his way to her old best friend Cassandra. She informs him that Leonora is not the type of person one can just leave. The old friend details an incident with one of his wife's ex-partner, Mike, who died in a mysterious cliff accident. The rumor that circulated around the small town pointed to Leonora as the culprit. She had a motive, as Mike was trying to move on with another girl. Equipped with this new information, he makes his way to the location of the incident, where he manages to call Sonia, Mike's new lover at the time. She explains that she's certain that Leonora was watching them from the bushes and was the one that killed Mike. But she was not considered a suspect, as she had an alibi of being at music practice, which was confirmed by her teacher, who heard her playing. While he talks on the phone, his wife creepily stands behind, staring, but disappears when he turns. Christian finishes his rounds at Zenia's place, where he meets her mother. Leonora watches from a distance while they have fun. She meets him back at the house, where he confronts her about killing Mike, but she dismisses his accusations. The discussion ends when she angrily kicks him out and swaps their cars when he refuses to end things with his mistress. She claims the house and their son as her own property now. This causes Christian to also enter savage mode. He goes to the office and makes sure he is seen by the cleaning staff, while also leaving his phone behind. He then takes one of the company's vans and waits for his wife to take her usual jog through the woods. When he spots her signature red waterproof jacket with black pants, he puts the car into high gear and meets the front of the car bonnet with his wife's body. When he hears moans and groans, he puts the car into reverse for one more pass, which does the job. With tears in his eyes, he rushes back to the office and makes sure that the cleaning staff see him again. Christian gets home late, where his son asks about his mom's whereabouts, but his shaken dad doesn't really answer, and then leaves to his room. He takes a shower while crying before going down to get a drink, but he quickly drops it when Leonora appears behind him, asking what he's doing back at the house. Christian thinks that's her ghost, but that is dispelled when Johan comes down and interacts with his mom. This mofo bodied the wrong female. In shock, he lies to her that he broke things off with Xenia, hence his return. As he cleans up the broken glass, she reveals that she has started jogging a new longer route. It dawns on him that he killed the wrong person. He speechlessly looks out the window as the blue ambulance lights flash. The following day, a distraught Christian paddles in his canoe in utter disbelief at the crime he has committed. Later, his wife gives him back his car keys. As he leaves to drop Johan off at school, Kim interrupts them and starts discussing the hit and run. Christian quickly leaves while Kim and Leonora continue to discuss the incident. She later goes to the accident location, where she finds out that the victim was a mother of 3 who was going out for a run. Leonora worriedly watches as the police do their work, since it's her usual running route too. She locks eyes with the detective, who instinctually finds her intriguing, but he later follows up during Johan's graduation party, where he gives his card to the couple in case they have any information. A guilty-ridden Christian goes to the scene when he hears that the woman he run over had 3 children. After looking at her memorial, he goes to hand himself in to the police, but he's dismissed by the receptionist, who's busy taking calls. Christian waits at the reception but has a change of heart when he gets a message from his son thanking him for the party. Meanwhile, Leonora starts to suspect Christian when she goes to wash her car, only to find out her card was used on the day the hit and run was committed. She later confronts her husband about it, with evidence of him cleaning one of his vans, looking rather distraught that night. Leonora comes to the right conclusion that she was his target. Their son walks in and clearly sees something is wrong, but his dad sends him away. Christian tries to explain, but she calls the detective to report him. He takes the phone from her before giving information about seeing a Romanian number plate. Leonora uses this opportunity to run out the house. He tries to calm her down, but she takes her phone and leaves. He tries to call Xenia while in a confused state, but she doesn't pick up. Shortly after, the detectives arrive at the house to get more information. After they leave, he receives a message from his wife for them to meet that night at a fancy restaurant. During their disturbing dinner date, a calmer and more calculated Leonora reveals that she will not report him for any of his crimes, but she does request for him to body Xenia. With his mistress alive, she feels like she can't be safe around him. She's willing to be his accomplice to further bond them together. This situation is worse than an episode of Jerry Springer. All they need to get away with the crime is a strong alibi. Leonora reveals that it was indeed her who killed Mike. She left the room, leaving a recording of her playing while her teacher was out. This gave her time to quickly send Mike to Valhalla before anyone noticed. Her plan to kill Xenia is based on this template, so the couple build their alibi by booking a trip, which will result in people seeing them. Later that evening, Christian seeks out but leaves his phone in their room and makes his way to Xenia's place. The plan is to make the murder look like a home invasion gone wrong, but when he enters, He goes off script and then enters again by having relations with her. Meanwhile, Leonora is at the resort strengthening their alibi with recordings of Christian talking. She later starts to realize that her husband is taking too long, so she sneaks into Zinnia's house and then bodies her. Christian opens the door to the bathroom only to see her dead on the floor. His wife coldly stares at him as he rushes to hold Zinnia's body. After a couple of days, the detective inspects Zinnia's house when a home invasion plus kidnapping is reported. They find the place too clean considering the nature of the crime. They manage to get access to her last messages, which was from Christian breaking up with her. This was around the time the crime was committed, further covering their tracks. The detective confronts the couple about their findings, but he acts oblivious about her disappearance. They lie that they have an open relationship, so it's not unusual for Christian to start and end relationships. They use their alibi that they were at the spa at the time he sent the message. After talking to them, the detectives are certain that Zinnia is not alive. They later call in police dogs to search the area, but by this time the neighbors have a gathering at the lake to light the bonfire. Christian is eager to light it earlier since Zinnia's body is in there. As the dogs draw near, he rushes with Kim to light the bonfire. His friend notices a smell coming from it, but Christian lights it just before the police can investigate. They later collect her bones and sell their house. Christian later throws Zinnia's remains in a different river, completely covering their tracks. Things cut back to the investigator and his daughter as he finishes the cautionary tale, but they are interrupted by someone in a suit. Turns out that it's her wedding day, and he was advising her on the dangers of love and marriage based on that case before he walks her down the aisle. They stand prepared to enter the church as the bells ring. The doors open, which brings the movie to an end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.